Cities United is all about helping cities and mayors work with their communities to create long-term comprehensive strategies to reduce the violence of our young Black men and boys. And we tell folks consistently, if you don't bring everybody to the table, you're never gonna get to where you're trying to get to. This is not something that city government can do by itself. If we could, we would have did it by now. This is about bringing all people from all walks of life together and having a conversation and saying together, what do we want for our city? And how do we create the best outcomes for our young Black men and boys?
The early 2000s, while I was still in the council, a number of other cities across the country, their homicide rate was going down. Ours was still going up. Dr. Bell and Casey Family Programs have been strong supporters of a number of initiatives in Philadelphia, especially over on the Department of Human Services side. And we just started talking about our lives. And it was a particularly, I would say, personal conversation. It became somewhat of an emotional conversation. And at the end, it was like, all right, you got these two guys and, a little misting in the eyes, and we have these positions, and all right, well, now what are we going to do? And it was like right there. We said, well, we have to take this to the next step. And how are you going to devote your resources, and where is this going to go? And in the meantime, Mayor Landrieu and I had become friends and like brothers. And then we realized that, not on purpose, but we had basically almost kind of been giving parts of each other's speeches. And we said, well, we need to work on this together.
And so we really made it our first priority. And what happened was when I found Mayor Nutter, or when we found each other on this issue, he said, look, I'm already talking to folks about this. He was talking to Dr. Bell. And the only way we're going to make this happen across the country is to invite other people into this conversation. If we don't value the lives of African-American men, then it's not going to happen.
One of the things I really loved about working at the Open Society Foundations and launching the campaign for Black Male Achievement was that they gave not only me, but gave philanthropy the space and the freedom to be unapologetically Black, that we were invested in Black men and boys.
And there's a stain on my heart for a young man about 16 years old that was in foster care and couldn't get out. His name is Frederick Brooks. And then I got a phone call one night. Frederick represents to me every one of these children who should not have to be sentenced to die in the streets, no matter what the city is.
Now, when you extrapolate that across the United States, you get a sense of how much this country's losing in terms of value that human beings could give us when we don't begin to value life in a really important way. And I just don't understand. This is just something I don't get. I just don't get it. Why the country's not stopped on this. Why it's like, hell no. We cannot talk about anything else until we talk about this first. Because you hear the kind of things you hear. Thugs killing thugs, let it be. Right? Things will take care of themselves, let it be. It's not in our neighborhood, it's only 2%. It's way over there. It's not way over here. Stock market's up, unemployment rate's down, everything's cool. This is not the opioid crisis, it's that. And I just feel completely differently from that, because I sense that in the United States of America, if we don't value every human being, if we don't go forward together, we don't get to go forward at all.
We internally had dances around would it be more palatable to say men and boys of color, and what does it mean to be explicitly Black, and be unapologetic about that, and what space and cover that does that give us in a political world? This isn't like a progressive advocacy world or activist world. These are politicians and stepping boldly out when no one else was really talking about the culpability we have as systems on saving the lives of Black boys.
I first learned about Cities United in my first week on the job working for Mayor Fisher in 2013. One of the first things that was on my desk to do was for us to join Cities United. I walked into the office with a letter from Mayor Nutter inviting Mayor Fisher to join Cities United. So 2 years after the launch of Cities United, I joined as a partner city on behalf of Louisville, Kentucky.
My first introduction to this work was with my friend Erica Atwood. When I first took this job at Mayor Fisher's office, I had no idea what they wanted me to do. I just knew I had the job to do. So I called the people who had this kind of role. And it wasn't that many when we started this work. There was about 5 to 10 people that you can find in the country who had Black men and boys, violence prevention, or any of that in their title. So I picked up the phone one day, called Erica's office, and she just picked up. And we've been together ever since, having this conversation around how do we create better outcomes.
So one of the moments that stand out to me over the last 10 years was the first meeting that I went to in New Orleans. I walked into that space and I was able to see all of those banners that had all those Black faces that were smiling and joy, and then to just move into a room where you've seen all of these folks who came together to say they cared about Black folks, Black men and boys, and their families.
We really wanted to take a little deeper dive with some of our cities. So we sent an invite out to 40 cities and said, join us on this year-long journey on this Roadmap Academy that we created. A lot of it's through to Quiniqua's work on the Roadmap to Safe, Healthy, and Hopeful Communities Planning Guide. We bring them to Louisville. We spend a week together, really walking through a process of where they are on the roadmap, how do they get to the next place, and how do we get you from having a plan that needs to be updated, not having a plan that we need to get you one, or having something that just needs to be enhanced. But our goal is how do we go a little bit deeper with these cities? How do we spend a whole year together, not just developing and creating a plan, but actually creating a process where we can implement it and then evaluate it, right? Because it's one thing to have a plan. It's a whole nother thing to actually put the plan into action. And it's been really a great example for us of how the work gets done and how we move.
Our mission and goal around that time was, what are we doing as a network? What is our strategy? What are we working with our network members to achieve? And based on the experience of our network, based on the experience that Anthony and I both learned in Louisville, Kentucky, we developed that roadmap to Safe, Healthy, and Hopeful Communities as our guiding framework moving forward. Using the information that was lifted up in the 14 Downing County, developed that roadmap to Safe, Healthy, Hopeful Communities, which then led us into our Roadmap Academy. We had 24 cities go through that, the Roadmap Academy, using, again, the roadmap to Safe, Healthy, Hopeful Communities as this framework, of course. And then fast forward a couple of years later, we developed our Reimagining Public Safety framework, right? And so my charge has typically with Cities United been around what are we doing? What is our strategy to develop the work, but also what are our cities asking for, right? What does our cities need to really move that needle as we think about producing safe, healthy, and hopeful communities?
That Roadmap Academy, although it was less than a week, it was like a master class, and it just put me up on so much game about how to begin to navigate my role in the community and even step up into community leadership even better, because I was able to literally lead people down the right road, right? And give them game on how to do things. But it also, it helped me lead those who our elected officials and government workers. So that piece.
But one of the other things that has happened inside of this Roadmap Academy is that we created this new fellowship. And we asked every city to identify a young person between the ages of 18 and 24 who would represent them and work with them and their teams to really help build out this work, bring more young people to the table, bring more youth voice to the conversation, and really help us move the work, right? Because again, young people's got to be at the center and leading this work.
And I did maybe 2 or 3 cohorts of the Roadmap Academy. And then when I came on full time in March of 2018, I came on to support young leader work and to build out the first Young Leader Fellowship, which at the time was called the Roadmap Academy Young Leader Fellowship. And I loved the Young Leader Fellowship. It was my first time working with young people from across the country in a cohort of that size. I've worked with young people for years. That's my passion, is working with Black youth. And so it was an opportunity to do that on a national scale. And so I love that. And I love the young people that were a part of that.
Yeah, the Young Leader Fellowship birthed out of a lot of conversations and young people that have been working with Cities United since the inception and managed to find itself in attachment to the Roadmap Academy when I came on board in 2018, 2019. It really was an opportunity to see young people get plugged into the work of Cities United, but not so that they could advance our agenda, but so that they could partner with us as an organization to achieve this goal of seeing young Black men and boys alive and thriving, both safe, healthy, and hopeful. And so what that looks like is we get some really cool travel opportunities where we get to learn about the history of our people, but also about policy and advocacy and how to move things forward from a strategical perspective. I know for me as a fellow, that was really important to the work that I was doing on the ground in my city, and helped me advance this movement in my own local community as well. So it really does this cool thing of balancing both interpersonal development, a professional development, and then also opportunities to practice your professional skills.
A few months after my first graduating cohort of Young Leader Fellows, I really transitioned mainly almost full-time working on RPOP. And RPOP stands for Russell Place of Promise, with a focus on Black wealth building in the Russell neighborhood and really seeing as a solution to reducing homicides and shooting rates, as well as to really truly build safe, healthy, and hopeful communities, is by investing in Black communities and investing in housing and education, workforce development.
It's like we're used to having white organizations or white-led organizations come in the community and try to work with us, okay? Their way, not our way. But Cities United and RPOP, they come in and it's a true partnership. We talk, but we do more listening than we do talking. And it's like, okay, how can we not help? How can we partner with you for you to build wealth for you, your family, and the community? It's a partnership.
After I started to transition out of the Young Leader Fellowship, in addition to RPOP, was able to start working on Civic Engagement Fellowship. That is a fellowship program for young men between the ages of 24 and 29 that may have had experiences in the criminal justice system, and they want to get civically engaged and make impacts in their cities. And so the project is in Louisville and in Lexington.
It was a pilot initiative that focused on introducing and bringing young African American men into city government. Basically an internship, if you will, leadership development program, trying to expose African American men who may have had some barriers prior to, but we realized that they also have some talent that they can to bring to the city. We were fortunate on this pilot to work side by side with Louisville, who also had a civic engagement fellowship. And Cities United was the glue that really kind of brought us together. They provided the technical assistance. They helped support us as needed, you know, with a pilot. Everything may not go as planned, and that's okay. The exploration aspect of things, but their commitment and their vision, their strategic approach, the intentionality of which they approached our work, and the thoughtful and at times patience that they provided us was very, very helpful.
So as you can see, part of our work is also creating a pipeline for the next generation. We are building, hopefully, a process where young people can come in, learn about this work, do it in their cities, but not only work in their cities, but also think about how they do this work across the country. Our ultimate goal is to reduce the homicide of young Black men and boys in half by the year 2025. But we know to do that, we've got to do some work that creates better living experiences and better opportunities that are deeper than just making sure that they don't die. This is around how do we change systems that actually are the things that push our young men into these lifestyles.
I want to see that same art that I see in my own child, the own possibilities that I see in my own child. I want to see them in every Black boy and girl and family and community. And it takes a Cities United kind of organization to do that. There are plenty of other organizations, we need them all, but we are in a unique place because of how we hold Black people, be they our teammates, our family members, our community, our politicians, and how we hold other people responsible for how they show up. We give them solutions. We're not just saying, here's what you have to do because you should care about Black people. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you care about your community, you care about public safety. Here are some ways to make that true for you. Whether you care about this young man or not, I mean, that's one thing. Hopefully by 2025, they're going to be caring about those young men too.
So when we think about Made for this moment, Cities United and its partners have been at the forefront of saying that this is what we need to do as a country. We need to have new public safety models. We need to have new public safety strategies. And this is what it looks like. So last year, when we released our Reimagine the Public Safety Framework, it was preparing us for this moment that we didn't even know was coming, right? So again, over the last 10 years, we have been tilting the soil to be ready for when the resources came and when it aligned with the public will in a way that we believed it could, but didn't know when it was coming. And then when you start talking about investing in the future or investing in the vision, this is the opportunity to invest in the vision of safe, healthy, and hopeful communities for young Black men and boys and their families. This is the moment for us to make the right investments, to be intentional with those investments, not just in resources, but in our time and in our efforts. So if we do all of that today, just imagine what the future can look like in 5 years, right? So this moment and this investment are converging on us at the same time. Even at the time when homicides are at a record high, we still have a moment and we have the investments to shift that narrative and change the outcomes for young Black men and boys and their families for the next 100+ years if we do it right.
Right, so the things that we've been able to do at Cities United has been tremendous. Again, there's a lot of work to do. And we all are glad that you all are on this road with us to 2025. We have a bold goal. The board, my advisory board, won't let me change it. That is what it is. We're cutting this in half by 2025, and I believe we can do it. I believe we have the will, I believe we have the resources, I believe we have the talent, and I believe we have the network that can do anything that we want to do. So I'm thankful to be a part of this. I'm thankful for the role that I get to play in this work, and I'm thankful for each of you all as we continue to move this work forward. So thank you all for your time, thank you for your energy, and thank you for your commitment to our young folks as we continue to move forward as Cities United.